Hi, everyone. Hello. Hello, world. Hello, people in Colorado and Vail and all the way in Germany right now. This is so cool. So thank you all for joining us. Welcome to the first edition of the Colorado Snowsports Museum Through the Lens. So in August, when I first heard that the Birds of Prey races in Beaver Creek were canceled, my first thought was, oh my goodness, I'm going to miss all my friends and family and everyone that comes from all over the world. So what can we do as the Ski Museum to bring this iconic race into the hearts and minds of all the people who are going to miss it, who are going to be missing this iconic event so much? So it was my idea to do this. We are lucky, so lucky of those of us who live in this valley that ski racing is so revered in this community. And we have Ski Club Vail and we have all these amazing organizations that are dedicated to the sport of skiing. So with an organization like the Vail Valley Foundation, with leaders like John Garnsey, Seal Full, Terry Frampton, and Mike Imhoff, Vail Valley has hosted 3 world championships, one in 1989, the 99s, and the 2015s, which is incredible. And the Birds of Prey course in Beaver Creek was inaugurated in 1997, and it was going to be used as the downhill course for the 1999 World Championships. I was so excited. I thought, who better to tell the story of this iconic American downhill course than Bernhard Russi, the course designer, and Daron Rahlves, the course record holder. So the first thing I did was I called my friend, an Olympian, Doug Lewis, and said, do you think you could help me with this? And he was like, of course. So Doug Lewis is the first U.S. male to win a World Champs medal in the downhill. He's also the voice of American alpine skiing, and I consider him my friend. He's also a good friend of the museum. And I want to thank Doug and Daron and Bernhard for donating their time to the Colorado Snowsports Museum so we can continue to tell these important stories of the snow sports that weave and connect all of us. The skiing is not just a sport, it's the thread that connects so many of us throughout the world. It's how some of us have met our friends, our spouses, created businesses. Skiing is not a sport. It is truly the love of this sport that we are so lucky that we get to tell these stories every day from all the people around the world who love the sport of skiing. And Colorado has such a deep history in Colorado snow sports. So the Through the Lens speaker series is usually live and in person with speakers here at the museum, and the ticket price is usually $25. And we usually have about 80 people in here. It's so cool. Everyone's talking and laughing and having so much fun. We will get back to that someday, but now we're going virtual. And if this series inspires you, please consider donating the ticket price of $25. And if you can't do that, we'll take $5, $10, $15, whatever you can give us. So if you're enjoying this live stream presentation today, please consider making a donation so we can keep the museum open and free to all, so we can continue to tell these stories that inspire and educate those of us to seek our own adventures and tell our own stories of snow sports. You can use that QR code. You can also go to our website. So now I would like to introduce my friend, an Olympian, Doug Lewis, who's been such an inspiration to me. He does these amazing camps with kids, and he does so much for the sport of skiing. So this is now Doug's show, and I'll see you all at the end. And don't forget to ask questions. You can ask questions on our website, and we will answer them as quickly as we can. So please, thank you, everyone who's engaging with us right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Doug, here you go.
Thank you, Jen, and welcome everyone to the first Through the Lens series online, brought to you by the Colorado Snow Sports Museum. Again, the reminder, the Snow Sports Museum is open daily, 11 to 5. Go see Jen. She'll have tea. She'll show you around. Hopefully you can walk away with some cool products. There's an awesome, awesome experience there. So tonight is free. As Jen said, please think about making a donation so we can keep that Colorado Snow Sports Museum open. So without further ado, we're going to get right to our guests. We have an awesome event plan. We are going to be talking about the Birds of Prey. Now, one of the guests is a mentor. One of the guests is a mentee of mine. But first, out of the bat, please welcome two-time world champion and silver and gold medalist in the Olympics in the downhill, all the way from Switzerland, Bernhard Russi. Bernhard, where are you and what time is it?
As you said, I'm in Switzerland. I'm in Andermatt, in my hometown, surrounded by fresh snow. Beautiful winter is coming. What time is it? It's I think it's 1 hour before midnight. It's 11 o'clock in the
Thank
evening.
you for being with us all the way from Switzerland. And please send some snow over to the U.S. We're kind of dry right now. Our second guest, a 3-time Olympian, world champion, and 2-time winner of the Birds of Prey downhill, Daron Rahlves. Daron, where are you and what time is it where you are? Daron is muted. So Daron, I'll throw it to you again. Where the heck are you?
Thanks for reminding me. I blew that one, guys. Hey, Louie, Bernhard, good to see you guys. Jen, thanks for putting this on. This is really exciting to be part of this. Got my up this way, Beaver Creek, Birds of Prey shirt on. I am in my hometown in Truckee, California, and my wife's studio here, the Bar Effect, and yeah, excited to share some of the stories and the inside behind the scenes of Beaver Creek. And I got some special things to show you guys a little bit later. You gotta tell me where these things came from.
Awesome, Daron. Hey, one more reminder, there will be time for questions from the audience. So if you have something where you can type in a question in the comments or email museum@snowsportsmuseum.org, and you can ask these heroes your question. Okay, so tonight we're going to dig deep into the Birds of Prey course and its incredible history. But let's go way back to March '88. This was my last World Cup run, was on '88. The pre-World Championship course on Beaver Creek. Here's my bib. I don't know why I was starting 52. Maybe a snow seed. Anyway, this course was the test event for the '89 World Championships. And a good way to describe that course was it was an experiment that went downhill fast in not a good way. Sorry for all of you who love Rattlesnake Alley. So fast forward to 1999, Vail Beaver Creek decided to make a run for the world champs. They needed a new downhill that would be an instant classic, have all the attributes of a world-class downhill. And they found the one person that could see it, create it, and build it. One of the most decorated downhillers of all time. We just met him, Bernhard Russi. How lucky are we to have you? Bernhard, when you first saw the area to build the Birds of Prey course, did you see the course in your head immediately?
Hey, when I first saw this, because it was Peppy and John who were guiding me to this mountain, I thought, oh my God, I don't know really who built this world, who built all these mountains, but definitely he was a downhiller, because this mountain was just incredible. And to make the long story short, it was the easiest work for me in my whole life to do, because everything was already there. We just had to open a little bit, the middle part, Pizza Arena, and add the upper part to get to the start. And then it was there. We had practically nothing to do. It was a dream to work.
I would take more credit from that. But to you, I mean, this downhill has everything, flat, steeps. Daron's going to talk about everything. But to you, what is your favorite part of the Birds of Prey downhill course?
It's definitely Golden Eagle jump. I used to be an active ski racer and an active downhiller, and I liked the jump. And when I quit racing, I never had the feeling I would like to go back and try it again. But when I saw, prepared, ready for the race, the first time, this Golden Eagle jump, and I was very slowly approaching the jump, suddenly the wish came up, oh shit, if I could do it just one more time, to fly out in heaven, and also to risk to go to hell. I mean, if you don't make it right, you have both things there. But I think in total, the whole downhill is so very well balanced that still today, I think it's probably the best modern downhill in the world.
Well, we'll take that for sure. So if you could describe the racer who does well at Birds of Prey, either as a description, or do you have a racer that past or present who personifies the Birds of Prey and would win it always?
I think when you ask me a name or a person, then I have to go to Hermann Maier. He pushed the limit on this hill further than everybody else before. I don't want to say everybody else after, because we had one who was faster on it, that's Daron, but it was a completely different style. I think Hermann, and it was in the first beginning when I saw him, how he skied, I was not very happy because I was missing that he was a little bit, how should I say, not anxious, but I missed the respect to the course, because he was winning the course, he was fighting the course, and he had no respect to the course. But that was an incredible one, especially the World Championships. You all remember that.
Yeah. Okay. Hermann Maier definitely owned this course early. Now, taking Hermann Maier out of it, or any of Hermann's runs, what is your favorite moment from any of the Birds of Prey races over the years? Do you have one or two?
One or two. I think Bodhi did always something incredible on this hill. Even if he didn't go, even if he didn't made it to the finish, but he's a very important story. And then, of course, as Americans, Daron Rahlves is for me how should I say, the finest, the nicest downhiller in his time, and also on this course.
Thank you so much. One last question. Would the Birds of Prey course been a course that fit your style of skiing?
Definitely, yes, definitely. Because I didn't like the so-called highways towards the end of the 70s. The courses got flatter and with less jumps and less big jumps. And I think this one is really still today, and it's a couple of years later. It fits really to the modern downhill. It fits to a downhill which I would like to be able to race.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bernhard. And stay with us. Go to sleep, watch some soccer, whatever you can. And again, for those
that is soccer now, yeah. But skiing is better.
So if you have your QR code or want to make a donation, please do so to the Colorado Snowsports Museum. So you heard it from Bernhard, one of the most talented racers, a race that has dominated this course. We're going to bring in Daron Rahlves. Let me just talk about him just a second. 3-time Olympian, Nagano, Salt Lake City, Sestriere, raced 218 World Cups with 12 victories, including 2 at the Hahnenkamm. Crushed the Austrian hopes as a nation back in 2001 in the Super G, where he became world champion. And here at home, he won the Birds of Prey downhill twice, 5 overall podiums, and still owns the fastest time. So Daron, we're going to bring you in here. It started out kind of tough for you. Your first 2 races in a USA World Cup were on the Birds of Prey, 1999 and 2000, but both were DNFs. Both, I think, were crashes, hard crashes. But you came to own this downhill. How does 2 crashes on your first 2 starts translate into maybe this being your favorite downhill?
Hey, Doug. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Good to see everybody to join in. Yeah, my start in on Birds of Prey was not great, and it was pretty frustrating. What I really remember is World Champs. I wasn't quite like at that level. I was just starting to run downhill. I was more of a Super DGS skier, the 99 year. And I got in the start, and the wind was picking up, or right before the start of my start, the wind was picking up. Herman, Lasse Choose, all the big names, Gadina, all those guys were down. And the storm came in, and it just started pounding. and I just saw like the snow accumulating just on the course, and there was a hole right in front of me, and I basically was getting iced in the start. I really felt like there's no way I was going to be able to like ski this course, and they said, okay, it's clear, time to get in. And I was just shaking my head like, no way, you guys are going to put me in this? Like, I can't see. There was tons of snow. It's so unfair. But I had no chance, FIS made their call, and I went. And I was making recoveries the whole way. I was on my tails. I couldn't see the terrain. I was getting just blasted by, basically my legs coming up into my chest. And I finally crashed. I made it all the way out of Golden Eagle through Abyss, and then I crashed. I just couldn't see the landing up the next jump. And yeah, that was, I just felt like then, like as an American, they didn't really feel like we were going to be competitive. Didn't matter to send them. And that was kind of a tough one to take. I actually went to Stedman Clinic and got my knee checked out, and I was okay. But, it turned around because I was like, hey, this is the one chance we have as Americans to shine on home turf. It is our turf. I mean, I'm from California, but still anything in the U.S. is my turf more than any other of the Euros. So, man, I just and analyzed the hill in every single way I could, be fast on it from start to finish. And we started pulling together as a U.S. ski team.
Before we get into the course, because I want you to describe every section, just mentally, how do you go back to the same course? How do you put your skis back on after crashing mentally to throw yourself down a mountain? Give us a little bit of light inside of a downhiller's mind, putting yourself at risk.
Yeah, Louis, I mean, it's Bernhard knows, all true downhillers, ski racers know this, but you got to just figure out why, what happened, the mistakes that are made, and then, they're mistakes. You just move on. And, it takes some time, especially if you get injured. It's a tough rebound. Like we'll see coming up, Spindall, his big crash off Golden Eagle and coming back and smashing it the next year. Being really confident. And I talked to him about that. That's an inside stuff from him on that experience. But you pretty much mentally just got to rehearse it over your head, go back to feeling confident and fully commit. And that's what makes a true, I think, like superb athlete, in any sport, is just to take the licks and figure out how to come back and come back.
Yeah. As a downhiller, I experienced the same thing. My first World Cup was at Aspen in 1981. I crashed into a chairlift tower, broke my back. My very next World Cup was a year later at Aspen. And I just remember standing in that starting gate going, last time I did this didn't work out so well. So I was able to push myself into the right mindset, just like you were able to come back from 2 crashes at Birds of Prey to dominate. All right, so let's get into this course. It has everything, but it does start out on the top with some flats. Now, they're not regular flats where you fall asleep. You have to work them. Can you talk about maybe how important that top 20 seconds is and what goes through a downhiller's mind when maybe there's not a lot of going on?
Well, out of the start gate, it's like you said, there's a big ramp that comes down, and you're just trying to gain as much speed as you possibly can to shoot out onto the flats. And that to me was my biggest struggle. That was not what I want, not a kind of race I liked, or a section I liked. And just with my size, I had to put a lot of time in. I put a lot of time in gliding and then testing skis and getting comfortable with that. But, it's you get so fired up, ready to attack out of the gate, and you go with everything you can out of the starting gate, and then you just got to relax, look way ahead, try and trim the line. You're looking for the track. Try and stay in the glazed sections if the sun's out, and really try and work the terrain. I would always try and juice little kind of rollers. There's some years there's some pretty abrupt rollers. Your skis almost come off the snow or do come off the snow on the top. So you have to kind of be really active, proactive, and work as much speed as you can out of it. And I remember reading something that Bernhard Russi said about it starts from heaven and you drop into the brink and it goes to hell. Well, that was the other way around for me. It was hell to start with, and then I'd be dropping in the brink, and that was my heaven from there on down.
That's awesome. Let's talk about Daron Rahlves' Heaven. This is from the end of the flats where you hit Talon, one of the most unique turns in the world. The Talon turn's a left footer, and then you go on to Pizzarina. Before I ask Daron what it's like to throw yourself down the mountain, here's a little video of what it looks like to run the next 15 to 20 seconds after the first flat.
Ski has been fairly flat and mellow. And all of a sudden, as you come around this big right foot turn, and you're just looking out over the Colorado skyline, and then, just like drops off. That's the break. Once we come up to the drop off, the downhill really starts off, and it starts off very quickly in a very technical, difficult, turny section. We have about 8 following big turns, which if you make a big mistake there, you can not only lose the race, but you can make also a bad fall.
To me, that section of Birds of Prey is unlike no other downhill in the world, and it starts off with a Talon. There's fall-away, there's steeps. Sometimes the snow is a skating rink. Daron, take us down that next 20 seconds. What is it like to run it?
Well, Louis, off the top flat, like you have that long right footer turn as you approach the brink, and you got to know exactly where you're going in. It's blind. You can't see. You switch to the left foot. That's the actual rollover into the brink. And it's like a long right footer turn. You have to make a quick switch. And the tempo, just like the way you approach that part of the race tactically has to just like jack way up with intensity. You'll be ready for it because you're very relaxed and just letting it flow and that bully up top. And then from that right footer turn, you have to really like turn up the volume, so to say. But we had some pretty interesting lines. We try and cut off a lot of the fall line, the quick switch to left foot before you go down by the fence. That was something, but I would actually like to have direction almost like 12 o'clock, even a little less. So I'm just making that gate. I've taken all that fall line, all that speed into that like next long left footer along the fence. And it would like match up with a good flow. If you step too much, you already have direction back to the right on that pitch on your left foot. You have to kind of like wait, or almost like get off and get on. And any fast turn is just like progressive energy, like from the start to the finish. And if you're waving through a turn with your like, pressure, you just don't like take energy out of it. So Bodie and I pushed that line quite a bit, and it paid off. Coming under the Super G start there in the Talon turn, that right footer, that's a quick one. Now they have a pretty cool like spine up there that they've like built up. But before, when I was running it, like that video, it was more, I mean, you're fighting against the mountain. You couldn't just like lay into this bank as much. But yeah, I just feel like, to me, that's where it was a lot of fun. It was full action. Beaver Creek does an amazing job with the snow prep. It is the smoothest, like most grippy, feel-good snow you could actually have for race skis. And speeds are up, but you could just cut like the sweetest turns on that hill, and looking for fall line and speed the whole way down. And actually, like it's a long section, so I got a lot to talk about. But when you come Pizzarina or the pump house area, unfortunately, it's not a spot at that time of year for a lot of people to come down and spectate. I mean, it's like the prime spot on the hill to watch, and most of like the course workers, a lot of coaches or some teams are able to get down there. But I mean, you could hear the crowd as you're jamming by. We actually had a ton of support there as Americans, and it felt really good to ski on that track and through that sections where you felt a little boost of energy before you hit the finish where the rest of the people were.
That's amazing. Amazing. I'm going to dig deep a little bit into that. So when you're racing with Bodie as teammates and you stop at a coach on the Talon or Pizzarina, are you all sharing the same line, or do you and Bodie have different lines? Do you talk about that? How do you work as a team in this individual sport, trying to figure out your line that works for you only?
Yeah, well, we had a great relationship actually, myself and Bodie, as far as tactics goes. I mean, we were on atomic together. And we would, talk about boot setup, binding plates, skis, all that stuff. We had our own ski techs, but they would work with each other, and we try different stuff. But it would come down to, you really don't know how many train runs you're going to have. Typically, Beaver Creek, they're scheduled 3 training runs. They're always going to skip one due to weather or just keeping the course in decent shape, not letting it get beat up too much. And you could have just one. So we would actually kind of go for what we really felt was a fast line. And if we had a second chance, we would try different things. To me, in training, it was really important. Like, one guy that blows me away, Bayat Foyts right now, he just cruises and puts down a solid run, but he's never really that fast in training. But you come to race day, he's a racehorse. He shows up. But I wanted to be able to go out hard in certain sections and ski all out in spots. One, because it's fun. Two, I wanted to test myself and see what I could get away with on the race day. And so we shared a lot of information, and the coaches had a plan that we sometimes in certain sections stick with. We'd go for the same plan. Other times, like, hey, and Bodie was a really fast inspector. I took my time. I was way in the back, letting everybody get going down the hill, and it'd be like Herman and I back there pretty much, and just dissecting the hill. But so Bodie's plan would be this, and I'm like, all right, that sounds pretty good. What about this? I'm going to try that, and Jono or Pedro or Brigham, any of those guys, or Phil McNichol, they'd say, hey, yeah, like, let's give that a go. So it was a team effort, and we didn't hold any information back. We tried to share as much as we could to elevate our level together, and have a better advantage against, the rest of the racers out there.
I think that's so important to share that you are better as a team, and if your teammate does well, that's going to pull you up. So thanks for sharing that, Daron. All right, we've had the flats. We want to work it. We've had the steep talon where you are just dealing and trying to stay on that line. Now we're going to come to the next section. Bernhard Russi already talked about it. His favorite part is airtime. There are 6 major times when you leave the ground as a racer. There's a bunch of little terrain, but the biggest one is Golden Eagle. We're going to take a look now at, and you mentioned it, Axel Svindal, where he crashed big time. Unfortunately, we won't see his preparation, but take a look at Axel Svindal. He definitely got hurt at this race, but this is the Golden Eagle at its nightmarish worst, even for a champion. Here we go. So there's the one shot. You would go almost 60 meters in the air and land, and he really skied it out. You can see there. He actually lacerated his backside. I don't know how else to say it, but Daron, talk about Golden Eagle, what it looks like as you come up with it, and how you ride it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of action going in before that, below Pump House or on the island, and you get off the ground a little bit there, and then it's dead flat. It is as flat as it gets, almost uphill going to Golden Eagle, and you can't see anything but the mountain, like the mountain scape out in front of it. And the plan is, like, you don't want to come up too much with your chest. I mean, as downhiller, your chest is your brake. You're putting it, the air brake on. So you're trying to be really kind of rolled over, shoulders down, arms up. You come up with your legs, but keeping that chest down, and you got to tack it. And if you have any reservations or doubts, or you're on the heels, you have a not so good jump or a really bad one, like Axel did there, and it's huge. I mean, it's a big drop, and the thing is, you're going out, and the hill just drops right away. So you get pretty high up there, and I think it was more his preparation. He was just kind of coasting it, little in the back seat, and just rode the jump. And at that speed, the wind gets under the tips, and you have no chance to recover. So you got to make a big, a good move, and just think of where you're going to try and land, try and get down to that landing, and then it's okay. But I'd say for all of us, on the men's downhill tour. We came from from Lake Louise straight into Beaver Creek, our first train run, man. Everybody's like, feeling it. They want to give it a little extra respect to take, a nice solid flight off Golden Eagle first run down. Then you start kind of getting after and pinning it a little more on race day.
That's got to be a huge jump. Not to take anything away from Lake Louise. It is a wonderful, fast, has the fall away downhill turn, but to go from Lake Louise to Beaver Creek is black and white. It is tough. So thanks for sharing that. So you land off Golden Eagle if you can, and into one of my favorite parts of the course called the Abyss. It is dark. There's a compression there. You've just landed. Now you're going to kind of go uphill. It is one of my favorite places to watch. Plus, your legs are tired. So before we ask, Daron, before we get to you, we're going to show Andrew Weibrecht do it almost crazy, but land in a perfect spot, and definitely watch where he takes off and where he lands. And then we're going to see Bodie in a Super G also go through the Abyss and not have a great time. So check out the Abyss for two racers. This is Andrew. Barely makes it, lands in the perfect spot. He gets 10th. I think that was his best one. Here's Bodie in the Super G at the World Championships coming into the Abyss, and it doesn't end well. Unfortunately, Bodie also had a laceration from that crash in the 2015 Super G. He was on the way to winning it. So, Daron, I guess, what does it feel like? Legs are a little bit tired. It's a little dark in there, and you go through that compression. What does a compression feel like? And do you have to ski it differently at all?
Well, the compression is the Abyss. It comes at you pretty hard for sure, especially if you go for aggressive line. You can see Andrew coming in there. You basically, there's a roller there, and it's a double. He kind of like extended a little too much and got floated way out and got extended. But we try and come in there and like stiff leg it coming out after you're holding, so many G forces through the Abyss, and you kind of want to like just stiff leg it and jump that little double, staying nice and compact, obviously, but that's things happen quick, in downhill, and if you have the pressure on the skis, the wrong spot, there's a lot of reaction to it. Unfortunately, I was there watching, I was on the hill watching Bodie come down, and knew he had the lead and the green light there, and that was pretty rough go. It was just, arm just caught to the panel, and the panel didn't release, and so just yanked him off his feet. And that's like typically that he should have just blown right through that panel. So it was like the equipment wasn't up to up to grade where it should have been, and there was changes like the next day right away, to like put all the make sure all the panels would be released, break away with Velcro and all that. But that was part of his MO, like all out, either crash or win or close to win, and stuff happens. But I mean it's just rock and roll. It's so fun down there, and you're feeling it. It's not really a long track on the World Cup. I think that point where we like in downhill probably a minute 20. And so you still have some pretty fresh legs, but you've been working hard into it, and you're just trying to be as clean and look for speed as much as possible.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you. We all crashed in downhill. It wasn't fun. Hopefully we walked away from it. Can you explain what goes through your mind? You're going usually 60, 70 miles an hour. Then you hit some trouble. What goes through the mind of a downhiller? You're going to go down, or do you fight it to the end? And does it feel fast or slow? Talk about crashing in downhill and just let us all into your brain.
It's survival. I think the best downhill runs are the ones where you get a little loose, and if you make it look easy, I think you're not like hustling enough and pushing the line and really trying to like look for that fall line and make speed. There's a difference of like skiing a turn with your arms out and compared to skiing that same turn, like driving those arms and looking for everything you can possibly get. If a mistake happens, you're just you're trained. You know, you've been through a lot of situations in training. You just learn how to quickly adapt and try and recover from it. And if you do go down and crash, so I mean, we don't have that much protection. We have back protector, helmet, obviously. There's some airbags out there that some of the athletes are wearing that are incorporated in the back protectors, but your body is pretty much your the armor you got, you know, to withstand any impact. I mean, slamming into like the basic gates or fences. I mean, they've done an amazing job with safety, with all the A nets and B nets, and good run out zones. So that's kind of where you must get hurt. If you crash hard enough, your skis are coming off. I mean, in the starting like house, I would like, you know, be making sure my boots are clean. My ski tech, Tom Burglar, last couple of years, or even Willie Wiltz, like they'd be cleaning the boots, and like I'd step in, I'd have to give it everything I could to get in that heel piece, and they just like try and crank it a little more, you know, bury it and then back it off like a corporate turn. But you know those skis are on, and they're gonna come off if you crash hard enough. But you know, it's just luckily I never had a race where my ski didn't come off when it wasn't supposed to. So I think maybe just making sure your boots are always clean of snow and you got them dialed in right, and you're running atomic bindings, you're good.
I totally. Back in my era, just a few years earlier, I skied on Solomon's, the bear traps, and they'd crank them all the way so they wouldn't go, and they'd go back a quarter turn.
Yeah.
I don't know why they go back a quarter turn. Make me feel good that they'd come off. Anyway, hilarious. Anyway, I just want to say, hey, you're listening, everybody, to Through the Lens speaker series for the Colorado Snowsports Museum. All last year, everybody would come into the museum. It would take about, it would cost $25. This is free. So if you're enjoying today's live stream presentation, please consider making a donation. You can zap this QR code. You can go onto coloradosnowsportsmuseum.org. Give $25, give $10, give $5. We're going to continue to do these Through the Lens speaker series. So thank you for all of your support. Now we're going to go back to Daron, and I'm going to talk Austrians. And Bernhard Russi mentioned that Hermann Maier did not respect this course. Well, the Austrians owned this course for the first 3, 4, 5 years. They would run, here's some stats. The first 13 races at the Birds of Prey, the Austrians won 9. They routinely placed 6 out of the top 10. In 1997, they placed the top 5. In 1999, 4 out of the top 6, 3 out of the top 4. The Austrians crushed it, especially Hermann Maier. Daron, I'm going to ask you, why do you think maybe the Austrians, or specifically Hermann Maier, dominated this course? Did it match his style? What did he do to win?
Well, for sure. I mean, the Austrians were, you know, the strongest team out there. They had huge depth, big, you know, like guys, very skilled skiers. You know, it's always been like that, you know, like, I mean, yeah, I know the Austrians have a lot of like stats there, you know, of probably the best results, but the Norwegians and Swiss, they're in my eyes like, you know, as equally strong as the Austrian team, but you know, Austrians had more guys. And Hermann, like the guy, he's just so aggressive, and you had to be really aggressive on that hill, you know, because it's like the fall line. To go fast, you can't just ski something, you know, ski a downhill online. You got to look for it, and he had that mentality. He was like a great, you know, foundation of skills, you know, let the skis run, very aggressive, always looking for speed. I mean, he'd out of every turn, you know, especially in Super G, always bringing his hands back up, and just, you know, he was making up time everywhere, and the guy was in incredible physical shape. So, you know, we trained with the Austrians in Portillo in the summertime, and we were kind of shown like how to be more of a professional athlete around that team. They'd be really focused on quality on the snow, like getting off the snow on the spin bike right away, eating well, you know, doing little like, you know, training, getting tons of rest, where we'd be skiing twice as many runs. We'd be like playing soccer or basketball in the afternoon, just getting, you know, smoking ourselves, you know, like just having fun. But we weren't really focused on being really kind of professional as a way to be ready for the next day. I mean, Herman had his own bike, spin bike in his room in Portillo. No one really ever saw him. He spent hours on a spin bike after skiing, and had his own trainer up there and all that. And we'd be down, fighting for bikes, in the gym with some of the other like Austrian guys, and they ended up bringing their own bicycles. There was like a couple there we could actually get on and do our recovery, but we were always kind of like in awe of like, okay, these guys are dominating. There's a reason why. So I think it was a combination, for us, especially the U.S. team, how we approach our sports science program, just our quality on snow, and then just the mindset. Like, hey, like I said before, I'm tired of these Austrians, winning, and Norwegians, everybody else, like getting the glory here. Like, this is our hill, and we had to figure out how to be fast on it. And in a way, you could sometimes will yourself to it. And I had a really good connection with that. I think that's what Herman had, amazing connection with Beaver Creek, and I mean, there wasn't a race that he really sucked at. The guy did great at practically every race out there, and had great GS skills. So that's where those skills shine in the Super G. You'll see from the stats too. I mean, like Ligety and Hirscher. I think even like I don't know, some of the other GS guys having really good, great results in Super G there. It definitely tends to kind of like lay a little more in a good GS skier's hands, the Super G race there.
Totally interesting about the Austrians and what you could learn from them. And boy, it's smart to do what they're doing best and bring it into your team, which I think the Americans have. I'm going to bring back Bernhard Russi all the way from Switzerland. Just woke him up out of a deep sleep. Bernhard, my question to you is, let's just go from 1997 to 2020. What has changed in the sport, equipment, snow, athlete-wise? What have you seen maybe the one or two most important changes in downhill, and how has that manifested it? What does that look like now? How has it changed? Can you speak to that?
That's a very, very delicate question. It's more delicate to answer. I think the change has to be continuous, slowly. If you look back 10 years, then you can see the change. But if you look back only 1 year, then you almost cannot feel it. What I feel the last few years, and this is for me not a positive direction, is, I mean, you have to adapt a course. The course has been built in summer, but 50% out of the course has to be built in winter. And that means you have to adapt the jumps and shape them right. And we have seen the fall of, just as an example of Axel. What do you do after a fall like this? Either the jury is going to the jump and going to shape the jump down, or the other solution would be to control the speed a little bit more. And my opinion would be, it would be much better to control the speed, to slow down the speed, to make the turns a little bit harder so they lose more speed, and to keep the jump sharper. Because if the jumps are sharp and every racer knows it, then we are not missing the so-called respect. And I think one of the biggest thing, maybe, I have been talking to Swindal about it, definitely, and Daron said it also, he made a mistake in the movement, but I think also a mistake in his head. He forgot there is a third dimension in downhill. In slalom and GS, there is a double dimension, and I don't know how you say that, a square dimension, but in downhill it's a triple dimension. That means the air, there is a place where you have to dive, and you have to be ready to dive. You have to go with the terrain and not fight and not wait what happens. That's a little bit all. By the way, Daron, it's fantastic how you explain everything. I have goosebumps on my arms and wet hands. I was like feeling to be a spectator on the race. So it's a very good comment you did for all the details. Thanks.
Thank you, Bernhard. I totally agree. Higher speeds is kind of cool, but if the courses are smooth, you don't feel that speed. Slow them down, put that terrain back in, and it becomes an incredible show and a test of the physical fitness of the athletes for sure. And Daron,
if I may jump in.
Yes.
My theory is, and I think this should be also in the future like this, that by making the downhill technically more difficult, make the jumps sharper but slower, I think automatically safety goes up. It's much safer because, I mean, if I miss a jump with 60 miles per hour instead of 80 miles per hour, it's much easier to fall without a big accident.
Totally agree. And I'm right there with you. And I'm sure Daron is too, because it just makes it more exciting. So thank you, Bernhard Russi, for joining us. I have a question for Daron, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So if you've emailed your questions or put them in the comment, we're going to get to those just after this. So Daron, you talked about the Austrians, and they dominated early, but all of a sudden you, followed by Bodie, Ted in the giant slalom, Tommy Ford, all winners. And then you had Schloppi. Fleischer also had great results on this hill. We took it over. The Americans started to own this course. Talk about it, and you did a little bit in the beginning, how important it is for the American downhillers to have birds of prey at home.
Well, yeah, Louis, it's really important to have an amazing course, really in my eyes, on our home turf. And I want to give props definitely to Beaver Creek and Bernhard Russi, especially for designing a course that's not only really fun to ski, but really challenging. And I wanted, as a ski racer, to be able to step up and face a challenge that was like tough. I didn't want an easy track. I mean, everybody can ski an easy hill. Everybody can like tuck down a straight, flat catwalk. I totally agree with leaving the train in and, slowing the speed down a little bit. I don't want to see the speed slow down too much. I mean, Axel made a mistake. That's what happens. You mess up, you make a mistake, and there's huge consequences, unfortunately. But this is the World Cup. These are the best skiers in the world, that train and put everything on the line, sacrifice everything else to be very skilled, athletes. And you want to have a test. I don't want to go to a race that's like less challenging than any training I've ever done. I want to go to a race that's like more challenging than whatever I've done. And, I had a different connection, say with Kitzbühel. I'd walk up to the last jump the first night we got there before I'd be on snow and just kind of take it all in. I mean, it was quiet. It was in the dark. I was kind of, talking to the mountain a little bit in a way, just like, hey, I have full respect for you, Strife, but I'm coming here to own you, and that's kind of what I started doing with Birds of Prey. And I think that's what we did as a team, the US ski team, especially Bodie and I, where we were at. It's like, man, we're tired of this. Like, this is ours. Let's own this. Let's do everything we possibly can. Let's work together. Let's figure it out. Coaches were all in. Techs were all in. All the other athletes. We had Brian Friedman. I think he was fifth the year that Bodie and I went. When Bodie won, I was second, and Friedel was fifth. That was really exciting. 3 Americans in top 5. Same with Schloppi in the GS. The year after that, I got a little redemption. 05. I guess my last race there in December, where I won the downhill. Bodie was second. He was around my tail. Then we flip flopped in the GS. But I know, like, I got 2 special things here I just want to show real quick. There's 2 rocks here. And it's like, I'm not that. I mean, my church is the mountains, and I first picked this one up, this rock right here from a race hill. And I was like, this feels good. I can still feel the energy in this rock right here. And there's a really special spot. that I picked that up. And then I was like, you know what, I want a piece of this other hill, and here's this other rock, and it's pretty similar. Like they're both kind of red. They got some white in there. This is a lot more kind of like, I don't know, just smooth weather, where this other one's like all, layered and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I'll just let you guys know. This is from Kitzbühel on the Stahlhang right here, this rock, and this one's from the Brink Birds of Prey. I know, Russi, that you walked over this rock. I know I slipped over this thing. I know everybody else, Hermeyer, Bodie, like this is right in the race line. And I was up there like before the snow one year, and both those rocks came from there. So that's kind of what it is. And I learned that from a Swiss ski tech I had, Eddie Wahlberger, that you have to kind of it's like a dance, you got to like be in a good rhythm, be in a good flow. And it's more than just skiing. Like, I mean, or racing, like a GS course, slalom, you're just going around gates, Super G, a little more terrain, but downhill, you actually ski in the mountain. You're skiing the mountain, and it's nice to have like that intimate connection a little more with it, and like that's kind of where I took it. I think I was just all in on all fronts and love the challenge and getting really focused. But it is one of the best hills to ski, and I think we talked about this before. We didn't bring it up, but there's like Bormio, Kitzbühel, Garmisch, Kvitfjell, Beaver Creek. Those are kind of, and Wengen, obviously. But those 6 races were like my favorites. And I spent a lot of time, especially at Beaver Creek in the summer, rehearsing video and skiing down the course, and I felt really comfortable there on that one. But yeah, fun to share some of this stuff with you guys.
That is super cool. I have a few souvenirs myself, mostly from Kitzbühel. And I, too, used to go to the finish area before the first training run as we arrived into Kitzbühel or any downhill, and just spend some time in that finish area. A downhiller's church, for sure. All right, we are going to open it up to questions. Hopefully you've sent some in to Jen. Jen, if you're there, we'd love to hear any questions that we may have had from the audience. We have a time for 2 or 3.
Hi, do we still have Bernhard with us? Or is he sleeping back in Switzerland? Is Bernhard? Oh, yay, Bernhard.
I'm here.
So Bernhard, yay. First of all, Bernhard, I don't know if you recognize this awesome poster that was just recently donated as an artifact to the museum. I think that's you, isn't it?
It is, yeah. With a high start number, I think.
Yeah, I love that. We get.
I think it's Wengen, but I don't know where exactly.
Oh, good. Well, this is going to perfectly time. So CJ Mueller, one of our amazing Hall of Famers here in Colorado, he wants to know, Bernhard, what was your favorite race from your racing days? What was your most favorite course?
It's the only course I won twice. It's Gröden, Gardena, won the World Championships and then the World Cup 2 years later. Also because it had some big jumps in it. Also, as well, gliding parts which I didn't like so much. I was probably not as good as Daron Rahlves, but the same type of racer.
I have a thing to add to that, Bernhard. 1 year we counted how many times the skiers are off the snow. Is 26 times off the snow in Val Gardena. So I mean, there's some action there, and like you said, the camel jumps are big.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, I have another question for Bernhard from Todd Kennedy. And I kind of believe you've answered this a little bit, but when you designed the course, was it already there or did you build it from scratch?
I tried to answer that in the beginning. It was already there. I mean, the only thing, and I always say we because I was not by my own. There were a lot of other peoples there, and we had to make the connection way up from the pump house to the talon. And then where we had to do the biggest earthwork because we had to free the little stone for Daron already at that time. I knew that we needed stone, so we had to do some work there. And then we needed to make the connection up to the start. And actually, this is a very special situation because we are on such high altitude. And I didn't like the flat so much in the beginning. And if we had to go up to the minimum vertical we need for downhill World Cup, we would have been obliged to go 50 meters higher up in vertical. And we got a special exception to be down at 750 because we are on a very high altitude.
Yes, the Rocky Mountains Colorado is quite high. We are known for that. This is, and Daron, I love finding out that you actually have a piece of birds of prey in your home. That's so cool. So this is why these presentations are so cool to see, because none of us ever would have known that Daron has a rock from birds of prey in his home unless we were able to get you all together in here. So this is why this is so fun. So Daron, I think this question is kind of for you. The U.S. has dominated on the GS birds of prey with Ligety winning. We've been talking about downhill the whole time, but we also run everything on that course. And the GS, Ligaty's won it 7 times. Eric Schloppe's also won in the GS, Bodie Miller and Tommy Ford last year. Describe this GS and why U.S. skiers have done so well on it. And this question is from Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. Well, I mean, it's a great GS hill, and I'll add that I was second there too. So it was one of those hills that it just has good flow, and I think it was more the mentality too that we were approaching the GS just like with the downhill. I mean, Mr. GS, Ted Ligety, just owned it, and puts down some spectacular runs, but just clean, fast skiing, and there's a lot of terrain, and really, like, we didn't really have much of a home advantage because we never trained there. So it wasn't like it was a hill that we got on a lot and spent a lot of time on. I mean, I had as many runs down the hill as any other World Cup, European skier did. But it's just, I think it's more just like the crowd support and the will of the effort and the will that we put into racing there. It's really hard to explain. I was there with Tommy Ford's GS win. I tell you, that was incredible. I was so pumped for him, and he dominated. He won by 8/10, which is pretty, a huge margin in ski racing. But there's really no way to really explain it because, like I said, we didn't train there any more than anybody else. I think we just felt the energy and willed ourselves more to have exceptional performances. And then, going also like the women there, they raced their World Cups, and Lindsey Vonn was on the podium, and there's some Swiss and Austrians that were pretty much dominating just like they did on the men's side, on the women's side. And it's just, like you said, there's been every event on that hill on the men's side, and for the women too with the World Championships.
Yep.
We have a couple.
Hi everyone. We're going to take it back to Doug right now.
You got it. We did put together a little short video of some of the American wins. We're going to roll that right now. Bodie, Daron, Ted, and Tommy Ford. Bodie and Daron switching off some firsts and seconds. Here's the master. And then Tommy Ford. I was lucky enough to announce that race and got to interview him, and was definitely a pretty emotional. Maybe I was more emotional than Tommy Ford on the podium. Daron, I have a question that someone wrote in. If you could take over control of designing next year's Birds of Prey, you're going to put 90% of it back where you want it. Is there one thing, one piece of terrain, one difference you would put in to that course set for next year you think you'd have something to add to that course?
Well, there's so much, that's a great question. If I could really make some big changes, I'd step that flyway up, get that like a steeper pitch like the whole way through. But, just adding terrain up there makes it really exciting. I mean, you want to have action. When you get in you skate as hard as you can, you grab your bowl and you're just going, like, you want to have a lot of terrain to like try and build speed. And instead of just a full test track on the flyway at the top, let's see a lot of terrain in there where the skiers have to like work hard to make more speed, keep the skis on the ground. I would do that. I think what Hannes Trinkle's doing now on the men's side, as far as like directing, each organization to like build tracks with a lot of terrain. Just what Russi was saying, like you can slow it down, but like keep the terrain in there. You can build more. It's fun to ski and it's fun to watch. So, I mean, Beaver Creek has a full package, and you got to be a well-rounded downhiller to be competitive on that hill. So, actually, I wouldn't touch much except for maybe just putting some more action on the top.
You got it. It is a perfect downhill. It is all the aspects, and there's not a lot of places to put in anything, but I think terrain, the more you can mix it up, the better, and change it from year to year. I want to thank Daron Rahlves, 3-time Olympian, the still fastest racer ever to go from the start to the finish at the Birds of Prey downhill in Beaver Creek, Colorado. I also want to thank Bernhard Russi, 2-time world champion, gold medalist in the downhill in the Olympics. Thank you to both of you guys. And before I send it to Jen, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. What an incredible insight into the Birds of Prey through Daron and through Bernhard Russi. And please, if you can find it within yourself, donate $25, $10. Why don't you donate $100, whatever you can do to keep that ski museum open in Vail. So on behalf of Daron, Bernhard, and myself, Doug Lewis, thank you so much for coming in. There's the rock, and I'll send it back.
Piece of the real estate, Birds of Prey. I hope it's okay. I took it.
Hi, Daron. I think you can own that rock as much as you want. So thank you. Again, I want to give a big, big thank you to Doug, Daron, and Bernhard. This means so much to the museum for donating their time. All of them are donating their time, and that means so much to us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I realize this is no substitute for World Cup skiing in the U.S. or in Beaver Creek, but it was so fun to hear these cool stories and to hear from Bernhard and Daron. Daron, we never would have known about your rock, so I'm really glad for that. It's amazing. I also want to give a big shout out again to the Vail Valley Foundation, Beaver Creek race crew, and the Talon crew, and all the volunteers that work so hard every year to put on the Birds of Prey course races in Beaver Creek. They do a phenomenal job, and without those volunteers, that race wouldn't happen, and without the Vail Valley Foundation and Beaver Creek. So again, I realize this isn't a substitute, but we never would have heard these amazing stories. So thank you so much. And again, if you love what you're seeing, please consider a donation to the Colorado Snowsports Museum so we can keep it free and open to all and continue to celebrate snow sports by telling stories that inspire others to seek adventure. And we are coming back in 2 weeks. Next Wednesday, December 16th, we have Joel Gratz with Open Snow. He has kind of a cult following. If you're not familiar, he is pretty good at predicting what storms are coming and what kind of winter we're going to have. So please join us next Wednesday, December 16th at 3 p.m. for Joel Gratz. And again, Daron and Doug and Bernhard, thank you. Bernhard, thanks for staying up so late, everyone. And there's so many people behind the scenes that made this happen. Thank you to Eve Productions and your whole team. And thank you to everyone that works at the Snowsports Museum.